Hello everyone, I'm Bhagwat and I welcome you all to this brand new episode of Innosphere, the flagship podcast of front of the office of innovation and entrepreneurship. This podcast is a collaborative effort of Nirman, the pre-incubator of IIT Madras and Center of Innovation IIT Madras. So today we have with us Mr. Divanshu, one of our distinguished alumni, the CEO and co-founder of Solinas Integrity, a young graduate who jumped into entrepreneurship just after graduation and in the past 4 of operations has gone on to achieve the great heights. This is going to be an amazing episode where we dive into the mind of a founder and uncover great insights about business, entrepreneurship, and risk taking. Hello, Mr. Divanshu.
Hello.
Welcome to Innosphere and thanks for joining us today.
Thanks.
This podcast is aimed towards all the young individuals wanting to learn more about entrepreneurship and hoping to start soon. So to begin with, can you please tell us about yourself, your upbringing, and how you joined IIT?
Sure. I'm Divanshu, like I said. I come from Gaya in Bihar and stayed my schooling there till 10th and then moved to Delhi in 11th and 12th for preparation for JEE. And I think that was the time that we got to know about IIT also. So It was good to move to Delhi and join with them in their classes. And 2 years of IIT preparation, priority was to get into IIT Delhi if possible. But the day I gave the exam, I realized that will not happen. So I had screwed up quite a lot. But anyway, wanted to get into IIT Kanpur, but missed Kanpur by 1 mark, about 65 rank. And the next choice was IIT Madras. So I had given mechanical as my choice throughout. So my first priority was Bombay, Delhi, like Kanpur, like that. So ended up coming to IIT Madras, which was 48 hours away from home and a long train journey. But nevertheless, I think it was a blessing in disguise because the kind of exposure and opportunity that I got here, I don't think we would have gotten that had I gone to IITK. So that's how I ended up coming to IIT Madras.
Okay, so can you please describe us more about your life at IIT? What all clubs were you interested in? What all teams were you a part of?
Sure. So if you look at how my childhood was earlier, I studied in a very sort of affordable private school kind of segment. So in that we didn't have a lot of things to do apart from studies. We didn't know about extracurriculars or things like that. I got to know about that in the last 2 years of schooling, but of course was preparing for IIT, so couldn't do that. So my first objective after coming to IIT was to do everything, everything apart from studies. So I ended up in the first year, I was part of a lot of things. I volunteered for n number of things. I was at Avanti. I was in the theatre group. I was in CFI, multiple projects in CFI. I was also volunteering for ESL. So just whole lot of things, anything that you could do. I was also in volleyball and all of that. So that was because I thought that I'll just make the best of opportunities that are there. And I think realized very early on that this kind of opportunities probably will not get anywhere else. So this was my first segue into that. So just wanted to make the most out of that. So ended up doing it. And end of the first year realized that, of course, going forward, you can't continue doing everything. So now you have to the funnel that we talk about. Yeah. So narrow down what you really want to double down on. So second year, फिर हमें coordinatorship वगैरह मिलती है. So फिर then decided to do what's good. And one thing that was there was I never wanted to do something that was already a fad. So
already a
fad, something that is already very well known. I didn't want to do that. And वो कीड़ा समझ लो जो भी so that was there. So I didn't end up taking Shastra. I didn't end up taking Sarang because it was already sort of very well known. The thought always was to build something new. And that was sort of key. Venture into places where there is an opportunity to create something, opportunity to build new stuff. So us time there were 2 things that happened. One, of course, I was part of Avanti Fellows, and my interest in education was quite a lot.
Just so that our non-IITian friends can understand.
Avanti is essentially a startup by IIT Bombay and Harvard graduates, Akshay and I forgot the name. My bad, I'm not getting it right now. Krishna. So Akshay and Krishna, and they essentially what they do is a model where they select IIT colleges as a hub, and they pair it with Jawahar Navodaya Vidyalaya JNVs, and there through a program about 25 students in 11th and 12th grades who come on a scholarship, and we mentor them to get into IITs or any competitive exams. That's the model, and it relies heavily on mentorship and so on because the video classes they get from some coaching center, but in-person teaching sort of used to happen. Now the model has changed, but at least at that time the mentoring used to happen by us. So there was a heavy sort of load on mentoring, because we also understood that the mentoring in the 2 years plays a very significant role in the overall thing.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So that was the thing. So first year I was a mentor to 2 kids. Second year I became a manager. So I was taking care of one of the group of in Pondicherry. And honestly, the first reason why I ended up joining Avanti was because
You get to roam around.
and you get to go to Pondicherry.
Yeah.
So because Tamil Nadu, because of the language thing, does not have a JNV in Tamil Nadu. So the nearest JNV is there is Pondicherry. So मतलब literally the pitch that my senior made to me was weekend में Pondicherry आने मिलेगा वो भी free का. So I was like चलो बढ़िया बात है तो. So that's why, and of course teaching interest was always there, so I ended up joining it. So really became passionate about that in the first year. Second year I became a manager there. So Avanti was one thing, then ECEL was another, and of course I was doing projects and everything also in CFI colleges were there. So that way it was most of my commitment. The sports reduced quite a lot. Theater group, I ended up doing most theater in sort of hostel rather than doing institute level theater. So wo sab ho gaya. And the other thing also that happened in the third semester was web shows. So I got laptop in second semester, and that's when I realized movies or web shows ki duniya hoti hai. So my second semester entirely was about movies, and third semester was entirely about web shows. So I literally ended up watching a lot. I used to do like sort of 16-hour marathons of web shows, just be in my room and just watch that. So I think third semester I did only that. But anyway, that was how the second year went by. End of the second year was, I think, when I started my first company, and I got to know about entrepreneurship. So my education company, we started in the end of the second year, did the pilot and everything. Of course, registered at the end of third year, but they started operations end of second year. Very like sort of like it was not planned as such. The only reason I ended up starting was because my best friend told that he is starting up, and I couldn't just take on the fact that my best friend could and I could not. तो मेरे को तो entrepreneurship का पता भी नहीं था, even नहीं पता था मुझे. So first when he came back from the sort of first summer and he told that he was starting something, and I was like, you're crazy.
So he's like, starting. Let me start something as well.
तो I'm like, इससे तो अच्छा हूँ मैं. So if he can do, I can definitely do something. And that time, of course, I was working in education and all of that, so got an idea about peer learning and so on. So I said, we'll start something. So end of second year was when we did the first pilot of our work. It was the first attempt at starting something of our own. So we did a pilot of the education thesis that I had on how to improve the education outcomes in the country. It was a 2.5 lakh project. We had zero money. So somehow managed to get it done at 22,000, 23,000. So we reduced the cost drastically. Within that also partly sort of did tuitions to get the money. Partly friends somehow sort of collected it as a birthday gift and gave it on my birthday to do it. So it was a very different journey. Probably sometimes we can get into the details of that. So that's how I did it. And first project in second year of summer became quite success. We got into 2 national newspapers. Somehow felt like we were a bit at a par. So बहुत खुशी हुई लगा कि अभी कुछ कर सकते हैं अच्छा. So third year then was particularly just academics involved, which is what I had started with a couple of co-founders, and ECEL. So ECEL में I had taken up the role of editorial and entrepreneurship wala part, and they were also heading a couple of events there. So the Entrepreneurship Insider magazine that is there was our brainchild. So like started that during that time. So like Prithvi and Piyush were the head. I was the editorial core, and I went to them saying that there is no literature of college entrepreneurship. So for people who actually want to start, there's nothing that is there. So they said, why don't we create it? So 5th semester we ended up doing a newsletter. और तो ऐसे किया. Then newsletter में उतना मजा नहीं आया, तो I said कि let's go for a full-fledged magazine. So they said कि resource नहीं हमारे पास, हम सोचे चलो करते, try तो करते. So then I very clearly remember like January of the 5th semester that is there, build up the team, 15 correspondents, all first year students, couple of editors, because we didn't have a brand, right? Fifth State had a brand, Shasta Sarang had a brand. First of all, ECEL was also very new because we had transformed from being Sea Tides to ECEL. That is the history. पहले ECEL was called Sea Tides.
Oh, okay.
तो कोई ECEL जानता नहीं था. फिर जब हम लोग first year में आए, second year में I think ECEL became ECEL. So we were also building our brand. My second year was the first time that we did e-summit. So that was also very, very new. तो उस समय को जाके बोलेगा कि editorial team of ECEL join करना है. So people were like ये होता क्या है? So of course none of the second, third years were interested. तो correspondents became the first years, और जिनको मैं juniors को जानता था खुद से, उनको like hater बना भी. So that's how we sort of did it. But the magazine came out really well. Like it was very much appreciated by the director. We sent some of these copies to Silicon Valley as well, and whole sort of different story on how we did the process of that, because we didn't have money, we didn't have resources, we didn't have any brand. So that we did, and yeah, that's how third year went by. And I think we realized that participated in elections and everything also, managed elections for a couple of friends. Realized that you lose a lot of friendships than making friendships in elections. So decided to give that up as well. So did a whole lot of things there. And then I think, so end of the third year, life in ST changed because the startup became quite serious and we ended up sort of deciding to do it full time. So that's when sort of came into entrepreneurship properly, ended up building team. And apart from academics, the entire focus then went on startup, because I think that was there, like very difficult time, the 7th semester that was there, because we didn't have resources. We committed to hiring a couple of people and wanted to build education in Tamil Nadu. I didn't even know Tamil. So was a whole sort of different things.
So like all of these was in your 7th semester?
7th semester, yeah. 7th semester.
While the placements are going on?
No, my dual degree tha. So that's the advantage that I had. I was dual degree. So I recommend this to everybody. If you're a BTech, convert to dual degree. Because dual degree essentially gives you a lot of time to sort of think through things in institute. 4-year program is a personal thing. I think first year में आते हैं, समझने में टाइम लग जाता है. सेकेंड ईयर में फिर इंटर्नशिप की भागा दौड़ी हो जाती है, थर्ड ईयर में प्लेसमेंट की भागा दौड़ी हो जाती है, और फिर फोर्थ ईयर में मतलब फिर लगता है चिल करना है फिर. तो you essentially the time runs out very fast. You're not able to spend time doing something significant. Dual degree में क्या होता है, एक साल पूरा मिलता है ट्राई करने का. So for me, my 4th year was that. Like when I and Samyak, who is my co-founder of Involve is the name of my education company. When we decided that we want to do this and we wanted to run it as a social enterprise, we said that if in 1 year we do not make significant enough progress, where we think that it will not be a sustainable thing, then we'll come back to sort of general thing, right? So that kind of helped. And when we did that, so 3rd year to 4th year when we did that, then we took another milestone and we said that, okay, Abhi, then we will postpone our placements by 1 year. But if it doesn't work again, if we are not able to generate at least 50K of income individually for us, then again we'll go back to placements. So in that way, it gave us some, like, thought process in the back, if fail bhi hue, so something will be there for us. So that kind of helped a lot. So I think 4th year entirely went into building the business. Like I remember, like till 3rd year, I used to be a very social person. I would be there in a lot of things. Like you can imagine elections.
You had a lot of PORs, elections.
So it's all about a social game, right?
Yeah.
Uske baad se then you completely become like back-end person. So even my wingies would not know when I'm coming, because 7th semester was very difficult. I used to like sort of, because initial time में startup को सभी support करना था, पैसे वैसे नहीं थे. So like 8 to 2 I would do college. 2 to 7 or 8 I would work in the office, and post dinner I would go to take tuitions, which will fund the money for the first company. So that is how we ended up doing that. And so it's like also host of things about learning, entrepreneurship, and so on. So that was going on. And
so like, sorry to interrupt, because like can we say that all these PORs and all these meeting new people, getting into ESL and starting something new, all these qualities did shaped you into an entrepreneur?
कह सकते हैं, हाँ, very much. Yeah. So I think
like not afraid of starting something new.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
ESL definitely had a lot of impact on me, because there was also a time that ESL was shaping up. So we were involved into thinking what goes into college entrepreneurship, right? What is the kind of event that you curate? What kind of people you bring? So you guys can look it up also. 2016 e-summit that happened, it had some of the best speakers that we brought. We brought Ritesh Agarwal that time. We brought, I don't know who, there was the CEO of UTV movies. We brought like sort of Ritesh Malik. So multiple big people we brought during that time without even being a brand. Okay. I remember there was this my friend Yash Goel. He was like, कि भाई अपन तो मचा देंगे events में. सबसे बढ़िया speaker चाहिए अपने को. We would literally cold call. We would use all our networks and try to sort of get them. So we had a line of speakers. We started this event called Unconference during that time, which was about teaching entrepreneurship in 1 week. So तो वो within the ESL time we wanted to sort of essentially do that, right? तो वो पूरा designed, मतलब I designed the whole event of how sort of the entrepreneurship teaching would be, कैसे उसका process है, everything. So it was a crazy time. Like third year, like I loved my time at Innosphere because that was there. I missed one thing. I was also doing the project for teleportation of robots. So they were working on sort of mechanism for robotics at the engineering and design lab with Professor Shokan. So that part was also happening because I wanted to be in tech. So that was something that we were doing. We wanted to start Formula Electric racing team. So I think that is the Adira.
Okay.
Adira so we were the founding engineers of that team during that time. उस समय electric racing का कोई concept ही नहीं था. But somewhere I think Germany में there was this thought that had come up, and then a couple of my friends came together and said कि let's try to put this. And I said चलो ठीक है, let's do it. So there were people who so I was responsible for brakes. My friend was responsible for suspension. Soumya Julu was doing electronics. So we were doing all of that together. I think that year we were not able to pull it off. So because what happened was, and we had even got Aether to commit to the sort of battery system for that. Because Aether had just come out during that time and they were becoming very famous. So we went to Swapnil, said, can you lend us the battery pack because that will be useful for us in making this racing team. So all of that was there. But of course, not everything that you start out really works out in the first year. So we couldn't make that a success because part of the team disintegrated. A lot of people were interested in higher studies, so went there. Nobody stayed for summer. So फिर वो थोड़ा disintegrate हो गया. And then I also had my startup to focus on. So I couldn't do that. Third year के बाद वो fourth year पूरा ये रहा. And so another event for why we were able to commit to full-time entrepreneurship was because there was a summit that I went to in Chicago. That was also my first international trip. There was called Global Engagement Summit. Okay. It happens in Northwestern University. And luckily got selected first, and then it also ended up winning the competition. Globally, about 43 people from 19 countries had come. So that also gave us a boost that whatever you're thinking in terms of entrepreneurship would make sense. So we were working on education pedagogy, where we believe that if you get students to learn from each other, that's a better model of learning than just instruction by the teachers.
Okay.
Just like how we learn in the campus, very few learn from professors in this sort of classrooms versus learning from individually. So that is how sort of it happened. And so fourth year went into that. Last year of college ended up taking the dual degree project. And while I was working on the project, then got introduced to the problem of manual scavenging, the problem of urban water, and so on. So end of the year, ended up starting the second company, Solinas Integrity, which you know about. So that is how my college journey came into being.
So great, sir. So you were involved in so many of these things. So how was your academic part of college?
Good question.
I myself, when I tell you if I get involved in 2 or more PORs, then my acads are so poor. So
no, so एक तो पहले सर मत बोल. That's not how the interaction should be. So Bhaiya is still fine. Otherwise, we just call me Divanshu. And the part about academics, I think, the basic system is that the bare minimum you do is attend classes. At least इतना तो करना पड़ेगा. And this used to be my thesis during that time, and I've seen a lot of sort of my friends also do that. That if you categorize your subjects, there are subjects that you like, there are subjects you are neutral about, and there are subjects you don't like at all. In terms of courses. So मेरा फंडा ये होता था कि the courses that I like, I need to get either a 9 or a 10. The courses which I'm neutral about, I need to get an 8. And the courses which I don't like, I can get less than that. Right? So average में you still become 8+.
8, yeah.
That's Agreed. The thing, right? So वो करना जरूरी है. And that's something that I always maintained. So even my GPAs were first semester 8.8, 8.7, I don't remember exactly. Second semester very similar. Third semester also very similar. Fourth and fifth semester went very well. I think fourth and fifth semester went very well. I think 9.4, 9.2, something like that. Sixth semester came to 7.7 because sixth semester was the time when I was doing the e-summit with also my editorial wala bhi magazine wala responsibility was there. Startup was also there. And I had taken up very खुद को ओवर एस्टिमेट कर लिया कि भाई अब तो मतलब कोर्स वाइज फोड़ देंगे, तो एकदम टफ कोर्सेज ले लिए एकदम, जिससे प्रोजेक्ट्स वगैरह होते हैं. इट्स नॉट, सी एग्जाम्स आर इजी टू क्रैक. यू डू FA1 FA2 ऐसे करके होता है ना. तो क्या वैसे क्विज करके सॉरी, तो क्विज 1 क्विज 2 एंड सम. तो क्विजेस आर इजी टू क्रैक, 20 60 बेस्ट मॉडल. But if somebody puts projects and everything, it's pain because you have to sort of continuously be involved. So I ended up taking a lot of things. So मेरे को याद है बहुत अच्छे से that semester that was there, I dropped first course by first quiz, then 2 more courses by third quiz. उसके बाद भी मतलब ये खराब आया because also the thing was that one of the courses were there. I remember very clearly. ED का course था and Sandeepan sir was the professor. So Sandeepan sir is full on projects. तो उन्होंने तो क्या मतलब फिर बजाई मेरी. आई थिंक दैट वाज, मेरे को उस समय तक C भी नहीं आया था कभी. दैट वाज माय फर्स्ट D लगा था, C लगा था. आई थिंक आई फॉरगॉट एग्जैक्टली व्हाट वाज द थिंग, बट दैट वाज माय फर्स्ट. एंड मेरे को बहुत बुरा लगा था, दिल से बहुत बुरा लगा था. तो दैट वाज देयर. हाँ, उस सेमेस्टर मेरा फर्स्ट C भी आया था because the thing that had happened was I had almost skipped attending a lot of classes because those were events were there. There was this course called refrigeration and air conditioning. तो उसमें क्या था, तो I don't know if you guys are from mechanical, but refrigeration and you're from mechanical, great. So 6th semester when you go, this essentially is a 2 course combined into one. Refrigeration is one course and air conditioning another. So I'll give you this funny incident. So it was a 4 credit course. तुम्हारे लिए 16 या 12 credit जो भी होगा, 4 days course per classes per week. तो Monday, Tuesday and Thursday, Friday. For some reason, I had never attended the Thursday, Friday course till the first quiz. तो मुझे पता ही नहीं था कि कोर्स का 2 पार्ट है. तो आई थॉट दैट एयर कंडीशनिंग इज द कोर्स दैट वी आर टॉट. आई मेरे को लगा कि रेफ्रिजरेशन बाद में पढ़ाएंगे, बट वो दोनों अलग अलग प्रॉफ पढ़ा रहा था. बट मतलब आई नेवर सॉर्ट ऑफ न्यू दैट बिकॉज, तो आई गो इनटू द एग्जाम एंड आई गेट 2 पेपर. पहला पेपर तो कुछ भी नहीं पता, बट आई हैव नेवर इवन सीन दैट कोर्स कंटेंट. एंड आई एम आस्किंग माय फ्रेंड कि भाई ये वाला कौन सा कोर्स है. So of course got 0 in that. That was the funny. So this is how the 6th semester ended up being. So very very bad from a academic point of view. But overall, the point that you asked, I think even if you do basic study and you are consistent, I think it is like decent to get 8+. Like 8+ नहीं बोलूँगा, but 7.8 to 8.5 वाला जो है, it's a very decent range to get if you are slightly serious about what you're doing. Because एक तो basic fund है ना, IIT में आए तो पढ़ाई तो करनी पड़ेगी. Like that's the basic part. So I think from that way it becomes easier. So yeah, that is there.
Sir, can you please tell us about the model of Involve and like how it works, how are students getting taught by their seniors or peers?
Sure. So from Avanti, one of my realization was that if you get students into groups, the learnings happen quite well, and the students also get motivated. So my thesis was that if I get in a school in a K-12 segment, if I get students from 7th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade to teach their juniors in a group, the academic outcomes of those people would improve. And the thesis is also that it is not possible for a teacher to cater to all the students in the group homogeneously. So these smaller subgroups would essentially make a difference. Of course, when we were implementing that, we did not think that it will have a significant impact on the senior students also. So, and that was during the pilot when 2016 we did that. We realized that that's a great thing for us. तो वो वहाँ पर काफी अच्छा था. मतलब जब हमने 2016 summer में when we piloted it, we got a set of about 15 students from 8th and 9th grade to teach about 60 students of the juniors in one school.
So like, did you reach out to those schools that
have these models? एक single school में. हाँ, तो that's what I'm saying. Pilot का, if you want some details of that, we had to first look out for a school who would agree. Summer vacation में हमने फिर schools identify किए, students identify किए, team बनाई एक. So we had a 15-16 member team of interns who would help in content, who would help in marketing and all of that. So full-fledged, like we did that travel, accommodation, because school हमने finalize किया Delhi में. So all of that happened. Partnership, why would a school agree? So जैसे एक मतलब a hack, I'll tell you. So one of my beliefs has been that if you want to really start something and if you want to pilot, one of my mentors taught me that these are called 5 rupee experiments. So essentially means that to prove any thesis, unless it is a very deep tech thing like a PhD or something, you can prove that thesis in less than 5 rupees or an equivalent of that. You don't need like a lot of money, because a lot of people say that in entrepreneurship, capital is a constraint. But one set of people believe that capital is never a constraint in entrepreneurship.
Okay.
You can always build a subset of that pilot in some segment and prove that the thesis works, based on which you can scale.
So the thesis works for a smaller segment of people.
Precisely, yes. So that's what you have to design.
Okay.
तो हमारा भी था कि हम ऐसा करते हैं, तो हमने बोला कि चलो एक स्कूल में आइडेंटिफाई करके देखते हैं, अगर वो बड़ा तो फिर we'll decide what to do. तो एक स्कूल में भी वो था कि इंटर्न्स वगैरह चाहिए थे, स्कूल वाई वुड द स्कूल एग्री फॉर पार्टनरशिप एंड एवरीथिंग. तो फिर हैक निकालना था उसका. तो स्कूल के पास गया तो स्कूल बोला कि आई एम ओके टू पार्टनर, बट यू गेट मी अ IIT Madras का सम बैकएंड सपोर्ट. इट्स एन IIT Madras फंडेड प्रोजेक्ट और समथिंग लाइक दैट. तो मैंने बोला ये तो मेरा पर्सनल प्रोजेक्ट है, व्हाई वुड IIT बी इंटरेस्टेड इन दिस. तो मैं सोचा क्या करूं, बट उस समय one of the deans was quite close to me, so he knew me as such. So I went to him and said, "Sir, this is the project and everything, and I already have a school onboarded with me. But all I need is your support on the certificates to say that it's there, so that students will get motivated."
Okay.
And he said, "कहाँ है school?" मैंने बोला आप कंफर्म करो ना, फिर मैं स्कूल लेके आता हूँ. तो फिर so that he was like, ठीक है. She said, "What about money?" I said, "Money and all I will manage. You don't worry about that."
Okay.
Right? So just the gap that was there of that information, I leveraged that. So I went to the school saying, "See, here is the confirmation from the IIT Madras dean saying that he will be supporting it. You give me the permission letter." School gave the permission letter. I served it to the dean. Said, "Hey, देखो ये आ गया अभी." So that enabled that partnership. Similarly, we thought that for most of the interns, we were initially deciding to pay them about 10K of stipend. So 1.5 month, 2 month internship, about 15K per person आ रहा था, and 18 people were there. तो कितना लगभग नहीं 18 नहीं 15 ही लोग थे कुछ, या 10 लोग होंगे, तो कुछ ऐसा ही, मतलब 1.8 1.7 लाख से मेरे को याद नहीं exactly, but that was the manpower budget. So somebody gave me this idea कि यार can we pitch the same IIT thing to the interns, all of these interns from DU, right? तो हमने बोला कि देखो 15,000 रुपए चाहिए या IIT का सर्टिफिकेट चाहिए. तो यूनियन मतलब everybody said कि IIT सर्टिफिकेट. तो हमारा पूरा मतलब मैन पावर कॉस्ट चला गया फिर. तो वैसे करके बहुत सारे हैक किए. देयर वाज कपल ऑफ पीपल हु वर इंटरेस्टेड इन दिस प्रोजेक्ट. तो बोले पैसा नहीं देंगे. हम बोले ठीक है, तो स्टेशनरी सपोर्ट कर दो या फिर शर्ट्स पर, मतलब मार्केटिंग स्पॉन्सरशिप, राइट. विल गिव योर नेम्स टू द बैनर्स दैट वी हैव इन अ स्कूल प्रोजेक्ट. 15,000 10,000. तो वैसे कर करके मतलब 22,000 का बजट बन गया फिर हमारा. तो फ्रॉम 2.5 लाख टू 22,000, दैट्स हाउ वी वर एबल टू रिड्यूस. सो देन इट बिकेम फीजिबल फॉर अस टू डू, अदरवाइज इट वाज फीजिबल. So that is how Involve came into being, the first pilot project. And when that became a success, then we realized कि ठीक है अब इसको scale करना है. So by the time we had applied to competitions and everything, तो थोड़ा prize money वगैरह आ गया, and then we could sort of push for things. So Involve works on that model. 2017 to 18, we started it properly. And we started working in a couple of schools in Chennai. We got some government schools as well. So that time it was a social enterprise model where we worked with government schools, as well as we work with private schools, और private schools के पैसे से फिर government schools का भी fund करते थे. So that is how we wanted to do this, because always there was a social impact angle to that. तो एक साल वो किया, next year फिर उसको scale वगैरह किया. In fact, raised some money, got some incubation and everything. But COVID came and we made significant loss in our affordable the school business. So private school का हमारा business था. We made a lot of losses because most of the schools shut down, and smaller schools में बहुत ज़्यादा budget नहीं होता उनका. So they were themselves struggling to pay teachers. तो हमारा payment तो नहीं आया फिर उसके बाद end of the year, because it was March का time. तो वो पूरा year वाला payment आया नहीं हमारा. Then we decided कि we will. So
like, sorry to interrupt, but like, do students have to pay to school for these extra?
No. A school pays separately. Okay. Because it's essentially, for private schools, the thing was that it's a cost of extra time that the teachers would otherwise spend in the schools catering to those students. Okay. Some schools, I think, may have reached out to their parents also to pay some money. Okay. But our model was that we are substituting that cost, and we are leveraging your own students to do that. So our cost per student was also very low. So in that way, you can have a win-win.
So let's assume a child goes to school from 7 a.m. to 12 p.m. So will he need to stay extra hours?
Correct. So private school का model ये था हमारा. When we were doing in those 2 hours, that's what we were doing. They will stay extra and we do it. It was, and we had, for the senior students, we had created it like a leadership program. Okay. So they would get a host of benefits from the school if they would enroll for this leadership program. Okay. And they would get training on entrepreneurship, on science, STEM, and multiple other things, problem solving and so on. So every parent would generally want to have their kids do more than just studying, right? Exactly. So उसके से वो उनके लिए एक product बन गया, and juniors के लिए तो product था ही because the seniors were teaching them. So that way how we were doing the private school business, and we were charging the schools for this entire setup. And of course, the profits would go to the public schools that we were trying to work on. But then post-COVID, we lost the whole private school model. and that time also the national education policy came in.
Hmm.
So we had this decision internally that how do we want to take it forward, because we never wanted to build it for very premium schools. We wanted to focus on impact and scale and really bring a policy change. Because if you look at what we are trying to do, we are not trying to create a new sort of teacher or something like that. We are saying at a pedagogical level, हम schools में जाते हैं तो what happens? बच्चा goes to school, teacher says something and you have to accept that. There is no discussion, there is no sort of conversation, debate and things like that. Our model was that unless students really learn from each other and cross question, become engaged, the learning outcomes will not improve. And that's the reason why most of the Indian education systems are kind of struggles. So that was our philosophy on that. So we said, if we really want to solve the problem at a country level, we need to take it to the policy. And if you look at how things have influenced policy, most private edtech has never been able to influence policy because they're always seen as vendors, and their commitment is towards
someone who wants to make money.
Exactly. And not just that, like even if you look at like a lot of Byju's, Vedanta and all of that, in education they focus on engagement rather than outcomes. So वो कभी मतलब Byju's, like the entire selling philosophy was the kid is glued to the screen. They were never accountable towards whether the student is increasing their learning ability or not. So there's a big gap in that. Like just because engage तो बच्चा मतलब Netflix देख के भी है, उससे education थोड़ी हो रहा है. So I think that is a piece that often gets missed because engagement is easier to crack. You make a good video, a funny video,
attractive video, vibrant colors,
तो वो बच्चा आ जाता है. But whether the kid is learning or not, that's entirely a different ballgame. It's very difficult to crack. So we said कि we will take a non-profit route to do that, and that kind of worked out very well in our favor. So as of today, we work with about 6 lakh students. We work, in fact, a part of the peer learning part came into the national education final policy that came in 2020. So we did a lot of work on that. We worked with states like UP, Bihar. We worked with MP. We recently cracked a state partnership with Karnataka. So we have about 6.5 lakh students that we work with across 5 states. Good sizable team. So that's how the model of involved like grew.
Great, sir. I mean, it's wonderful to understand from your own words. So like, let's move on to Solinas. How did Solinas start, and like, how did you found this problem?
The credit of finding the problem entire goes to Professor Prabhu, who is also the sort of dean here, right? So I was a dual degree student with him, and I was heavily influenced by sort of the work that he was doing, the kind of like projects that he was taking up. So in final year, I went to him, said that, sir, I want to do something impactful. He said, there is a project, it's not progressed a lot, we can work on this together. I said, ठीक है करते हैं. But first 3 months were more like college project करके खत्म कर दो.
Okay.
Right, because I already had involved running, like full-time commitment was there. So getting into something new was entirely sort of painful. So whatever was there, I just worked on it enough and said, ठीक है हो गया.
So like, were you working on the technical aspect of those?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the problem statement there was कि develop a robotic system to clean septic tanks. Because septic tank में major problem होता है, अंदर में sludge होती है that gets deposited over a period of time, and that people have to get inside to sort of scrape it out because a smaller suction machine and all doesn't take it out much. तो हमने बोला कि ठीक है, we'll find a solution for that. So existing कुछ part हुआ था, उस पे I was just trying to build up and close. तो पहले 3 महीने वही किया and did it like low touch, बस हो जाए. And then I was like, मेरा DDP खत्म हो गया. A change happened when we actually went to meet manual scavengers. And that time we realized that the problem is actually very deeper, and interacted with them, saw their condition, and then felt that this is something that is sort of painful. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए. So I came back and told Professor Prabhu कि sir, इसको we have to rethink it again because the current way in which we are doing may not make a lot of sense for the problem. So he said, ठीक है, you tell what needs to be done. तो हमने पूरा स्क्रैच से फिर वापस रीडिजाइन वगैरह किया. Okay. And 9 months में we went and delivered a prototype. And then we went to them and they sort of said कि ठीक है, this is in the right direction. So that was a moment of like sort of victory kind of कि चलो मतलब किया बढ़िया. तो उसमें बहुत फाइट मारी. मतलब 9 months में conceptualization, design, prototype, manufacturing, vendor. But I remember March of 2019, I had gotten this Activa for involved work. ठीक है. वो सेकंड हैंड एक्टिवा खरीदी, उसको पकड़ करके मतलब अम्बत्तूर जाता था. Ambattur is 25 kilometers from here. Okay. Because the vendor was there, and I wanted a full-fledged like sort of working model rather than just a small prototype. So and Professor Prabhu arranged for funds also. We were a finalist of the Carbon Zero Challenge. तो 5 लाख का पैसा भी मिल गया था वहाँ पर to develop a type. तो vendor से पूरा मतलब तो every alternate day I would go from sort of here campus to Ambattur on the Activa, pushing the vendor कि भाई time पे काम करते, because vendors are very sort of painful that way. तो DDP जिस दिन review था, like I remember 2:30 or sometime there was a review. Till 2 o'clock I was working to put together the prototype and making it work, because in my review I wanted to show people that it's a working prototype and it like sort of works. We had a sludge composition, so did a lot of work on the chemicals of that as well. Published a couple of papers, sort of posters. And मेरे को तो भूल गया था कि 2:30 is this thing. So somebody told me कि भाई आधे घंटे में तेरा ये है. Then I got somebody's like bike, immediately rushed to hostel, put on the formal, because different कपड़े में मतलब काम कर रहा था वहाँ पर. So formal डाला, फिर DDP presentation के लिए came back to the presentation. तो उसमें I forgot also that we had to submit a PPT पेन ड्राइव में सबमिट करना होता है. तो वो किया ही नहीं था. तो पर I was clueless. I was like, अच्छा पेन ड्राइव सबमिट नहीं किया. So fortunately the professors knew that I was engaged there. So they gave me 5 minutes of buffer time. So went to the mechanical office. उनके पास इंटरनेट था. उनको बोला भाई प्लीज मतलब थोड़ा सा डाउनलोड करके दो. Finally ended up doing the Diwali. So but got an S. So that way it was taken care of. So that's how I ended up starting Solinas. वो project हुआ. Got a couple of awards. Started talking to professor कि क्या करना है अभी आगे. उस समय एक और senior थे मेरे, Ajay, he was working on pipeline crawlers for pipelines, sort of crawlers for pipeline inspection. So it was a good opportunity to work on this together. Like I was interested in sanitation, he was working on water. We said, okay, let's work on like the problem of water and sanitation together. That's how Solinas came into being.
Great. So like when you talk about manual scavenging, definitely the Indian government banned it a while ago, but still it's going on in the society. And like you might have been close to those people, you might have seen them doing it. What do you think? What conditions are there? Why are they forced to do this?
Yeah, so it's a complex problem that way, right? Some places they are forced, some places they do it willingly also because it gives them more money. So while a general day of labor would give you 600-700 rupees, doing that cleaning will give you 1800 rupees, let's say, one time cleaning. Although 2 घंटे में हो जाती है. It's a quick money for a lot of people also. So in that way, I think that's where sort of the complication of that comes in, right?
Like people want to do it. So
some people want to do it.
How can you deny them?
And deny also मतलब यार पैसा चाहिए at the end of the day, right? And it's quick buck, so they end up doing it. And for them, see, for a lot of people there, the dignity is already lost a long time back. So they are not care. It's a very inhuman job, but they don't care about it because they're getting money for it, right? So from that way, and the condition in which you can do it is this absolutely like sort of worse. Like you have to be completely drunk. You have to shave your head in a larger extent because your hair essentially gets chemical into that, and then it burns your skin. Nails come off after a lot of time of like sort of being in the sewer network. So it's a horrible environment to be in, but still like it's happening. So, and that's where a realization also was there that just technology alone will not solve for this. The commercialization of that, working with the Safai Karamcharis, training them, rehabilitating them, a lot of it is different. Like it's a question also of hope, it's a question of desire, it's a question of what do they think could happen. Because if you go and tell them that अभी machine दे दिया, you operate it and you become entrepreneurs, they're like, भाई 600 रुपये महीने का मेरे को दे दो बस, मेरा काम हो जाएगा. So from that angle, it's a lot of like complexity involved there. So like technology is not a magic wand through which you will solve for it, but it is one of the enablers through which you will do it. That's why even at Solinas, like there are a lot of projects that we do with corporates where we supply the machine, we also invest in training them and trying to at least find some success story through which we can rehabilitate some of these Safai Karamcharis also back into this robotic usage.
Okay.
That's been one of.
So like when Indian government banned it, did they thought of any other alternative solutions?
Yeah, hai. So I have to look at it from different angle, right? There are at a government level there are multiple things there. First is Supreme Court banned it.
Okay.
It's not the Indian government.
Yeah.
Right. So Supreme Court banned it, saying that it should not happen and you should do mechanization. But Supreme Court is not an implementation agency. They will not be able to provide robots or machines to do that. Right. Then comes the central government. Central government will say कि ठीक है, it should not happen. They have the Swachh Bharat mission also, right? So a lot of things on that angle are there. So उस case से फिर what ends up happening is you need to allocate budget. There needs to be enough technologies available. So it's a process through which it will happen. And governments at each level are taking their efforts to do that. For example, a couple of years back, the Supreme Court banned in 2013. Couple of years back, the finance minister announced that now we will be entirely doing a mechanical desludging of these cleaning of
sewers. So it was a process that was being.
It's a process like that, yeah. And it still sort of is illegal that way, but the way it happens is quite different.
So like this problem would have been existed in different countries as well. So what are the approach they are having, and how are they working against manual scavenging?
Correct. So if you look at a lot of developed countries now, ऐसा नहीं कि solution नहीं है, right? There is even in India there is this thing called super sucker machines.
Okay.
Big sort of sizable trucks that do it. They will solve 90-95% of the cases like this. The challenge is essentially three. One, these super suckers are cost heavy. Individual machines would cost 2 crores, 3 crores. So smaller municipality can never buy it. For them, they cannot do capital investment. It's much easier for them to deploy like 4 or 5 people who will get this done. Right? So that way, one is that problem of affordability. Second is operations cost. Like to operate a super sucker, you need 5-10 people, 12 people, 15 people also. उतने लोग मतलब का issue होगा उसको क्योंकि cost is piling up again. So one is capital cost, another is operations cost. And third is these super suckers cannot go into narrow lanes of India. Like they work very well in US, countryside and all of that. UK वगैरह में roads बड़ी हैं, चौड़ी हैं, कर सकते हैं. But otherwise it becomes an issue. So if you see, a lot of the developing countries also have the same problem. You go to Indonesia, they have the same problem. Malaysia, they got the same problem. Cambodia, they have the same problem. And in a lot of countries, so they have become so much accepting into that. उनको तो problem क्या है? So why do you even need a machine? तो आदमी जाके कर लेगा ना, क्या दिक्कत है? So that thing is also there, right? Because cost wise, what they can do manually wherever labor is cheap will always like beat a machine cost. So that way, unless there is an external incentive, push, policy, punishment, things will not change for the better.
Okay. So like, just for our audience, can you just explain the products of
Sure.
Solinas?
So in Solinas, we work on asset management primarily in water sanitation sector for the cities and industries. We look at 3 lenses to the problem. First is diagnostics, second is cleaning, and third is digitization for prediction of some of these problems, right? So at a diagnostics level, our thesis is that unless you don't know where things are, you will not be able to solve. Most of the assets in water sanitation are underground, right? So whether it is water pipeline, sewer pipeline, drainages, septic tanks, manholes, all of these are undergrounds. So we have our series of robots called Endobots that go inside the pipelines and look for defects.
Okay.
One of the good things that we've done is done water diagnostics, which is like kind of we created the market for water diagnostics. We have these Endo 90s, Asia's first robot that can go into pipelines as small as 90 mm in diameter.
90 mm, okay.
They go into the pipeline, they look for contamination, leakages, illegal connections, joints, all of these problems. So there have been many cities where we've actually solved larger contamination problem. That's where a lot of our belief in social impact and solving for societal problem comes in. Like there was a city where for about 2 months, part of the city was struggling with contamination. Kids were getting into like hospital multiple times because they were drinking contaminated water.
Okay.
We went there, solved it in 2 days. We identified the points. Like I can share some videos. Like there were literally insects inside the water pipeline. That was the condition. There was a case study where we were working on identifying contamination issues and leakages, but we identified some blockages as well. And we worked with the network operator to clear those blockages. 3 days later, we woke up to the news that about 1,100 households who were not getting water for 18 months, they ended up getting water. So these are urban slums whose family income would be 25,000-30,000 rupees. And they were spending about 3,000, 4,000 rupees a month on getting tanker water, which they should have gotten for free. So it was a huge sort of change. Like, it came in the news, like people literally came and like sort of thanked us saying that it's been a great sort of success. So that is we do in water. So water diagnostics, sewer diagnostics, drainage, flooding and all is an issue. Before a rainy season, can we do a diagnostics of the stormwater drains to identify where the problems are? So that is one thing that we do. Second thing is on the cleaning front, which is where the manual scavenging elimination comes in. So we do cleanings of manholes to ensure that silting blockage doesn't happen. We are also developing a solution for cleaning of horizontal pipelines. Then third is digitization. Moinak, who is my co-founder also, when we were interacting with clients, he realized that a lot of things would make sense if we were able to digitize the data online, because most of these municipalities or industries do not have that data. Like they don't even know where the pipelines are laid and so on.
Okay.
So we are able to digitize that and update the data on a real-time basis, give them reports, do some AI on the predictive part of the pipelines, because we have that data when we are doing the video inspection. If we are able to run AI on that to understand when the pipeline is likely to fail, or what the condition of the pipeline would be 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, we can have a very good insight for that. So that's what we built. So that's called Swasth AI. Swasth essentially is Hindi word for health. So we built that thing, one of the pioneers in, again, the data management for underground assets. That is how we ended up building a suite of products. And we think that this will essentially, as a end-to-end system, will solve for various water and sanitation problems that are there in the country. So,
Great, sir. You have recently been to Shark Tank.
yeah, 2 years back now. Yeah.
Okay, 2 years back, Shark Tank.
Yeah.
How was the experience?
So
how are the sharks?
My experience was actually very good till the Shark Tank. Like post that was not very good, but till the Shark Tank, the experience was great. We had expected much worse, but everything went very well. Like the preparation, huge respect for the Sony team, how professional they were in handling everything. So वो तो मेरे को काफी बढ़िया लगा. Like to the T, they ensure that things are well. The stage there is very good. You have the time to sort of present the last question. So our recording went on for like about 1 hour 20 minutes or so. It's a single shot recording. You don't do retakes.
Okay.
So you do that. Sharks were good. They asked good questions. They understood the seriousness of the problem. So all of that happened quite well. I think the experience that was very good. Our episode came out really well. So
yeah, it was a high TRP episode for them.
So and the way that they did the editing also, the trailer मेरे को लगा कि भाई तो hype create कर दिया बढ़िया से. So I think fairly happy with the overall way it came out. And so honestly we did not expect anybody would invest. We like the work that we're doing, in all honesty, is not the best investable business that anybody will find.
Oh.
Like if you look at a funnel of what people do not want to fund. First, we have heavy exposure with
the point of view of investors, that this might not be a good return.
Correct. Because first thing, we have good business with government. Generally, investors do not want to fund businesses with government because there's a very high unreliability. Right? We still have 40% of our business, 50% of our business with government. Hopefully, it will reduce over time, but abhi hai wo. So there is exposure to that. Then there is hardware. Very few investors want to invest. Like India is still a very early ecosystem for hardware. So we are hardware focused. Then we also want to do social impact. So in that way, sort of, it doesn't become the best bet that you will find. And so I believe, and a lot of investors do. So we didn't expect that they will be interested, right? Some climate focused investors are interested, of course, but for an individual, like they might not be. But we got very good response. So kudos to that they were able to, that they understood what we were doing and they really became interested in that. So investment to expect nahi tha, but what we wanted is the country to know about the problems that are there, because most of the people do not know. If somebody could ask them, where do you get the water from? Their thing would be RO se aata hai. But RO se pani nahi aata, bhai. RO is sort of filtration. But where is the source of water? Where is the water? Because the pipelines are not visible. There are like 4,000 kilometers of pipelines spread across Chennai. 4,000 water is similar 3,500 kilometers of sewer network. तो दिखता नहीं है. अंदर में क्या problem हो रहा है? What is the issues? Where the systems are failing? These systems are laid like 30-40 years back. Nobody knows. So if we can make people aware about the problem, they will even, at an individual level, people will become curious. They will understand and they will do things better for the climate. So that was the idea, and it came out quite well.
So like you just mentioned, it was good till the episode. Like if you don't mind sharing what happened after the episode.
It was like nothing like that. It's just that the legal teams were quite slow. We thought that we would close things in the next 3 months. They ended up taking 6-7 months. The response was not great. Like they would follow up and we would follow up, the response would not come. So in that way, we did not get in touch with any of those sharks.
Oh.
तो उसके बाद तो फिर थोड़ा सा ये हो गया. In fact, I had very good experience with Amit Jain, who was like the new shark on that season. I met him later also, and we talked. So, but with other people, we were not able to reach them very well. तो इसलिए थोड़ा सा experience वहाँ पर खराब हो गया. खराब हो गया मतलब I thought it would be better, but again, probably they would not have the bandwidth to deal with everybody. So that's when so we did not go ahead with the investment there.
Okay, you did not go ahead with the investment.
We did not.
Mental questions like, what was the toughest period in your entrepreneurial journey, and how did you get through it, or like any learning that you would like to share?
Sure. Toughest part, that first 6 months of building involved, like the time that I mentioned where I was like doing college, office, and then again tuitions. The reason it came to that because we, in our all youthfulness of starting an organization, we did not take into mind the certain considerations. So, for example, first, we did not know Tamil. We were trying to work with public school, affordable private schools. So there was no way we could have done that well. So, in fact, I got one of my founding team members who was there for involved to leave his job in Pune and come here to do full time, because I and Samyak were not able to do full time. We got somebody to do it full time. He did not know the language. He realized I will need support. और कोई hire करने के कुछ पैसे वैसे थे नहीं. So it was kind of messed up, because the thing was that we expected कि we'll onboard 2 schools, 30,000-40,000 per month at least revenue will come in, and we would be able to fund the salaries at least. But we got 1 school. So the story goes like this, right? We had 1 person, then we realized that we did not know Tamil. We got another person who would join us as a volunteer first, but then she left her job in Cognizant to join us full time.
Okay.
Now you have 2 full-time members, and we want to convert schools. We got 1 school onboarded who was paying us 20,000 a month or so. 2 months later, they kicked us out. They said कि बच्चे भी हमारे, school भी हमारा, तुमको पैसे क्यों पे करे? And we were not mature enough that time to make them understand what was our sort of value proposition, right? We said, बात तो सही लग रहा है, मतलब ऐसे I'm not able to. तो उन्होंने निकाल दिया फिर हमको. So imagine, like I think it was like October time. You have 2 members who have quit their job to join you. You have made such a ho halla around everybody कि you are a startup person, ऐसे करके. And you are realizing कि भाई पैसे नहीं है, school नहीं है, so what will you do, right? So very difficult time that way. So initially I ended up doing that, and then I think it was November end, जब end semesters आ रहे थे, and I was realizing that I was like really messing things up. Like I was not seeing my friends at all. I would just like reach my room at 11 o'clock, tell them कि भाई पढ़ा दो मेरे को, so that I can go into the exam. So I think that kind of became a breaking point. I remember like there was one of my another person in education that I had met who went on to be my guide also in entrepreneurship, and I told him कि आपने बोला था startup करो, अब ये startup कर लिया, heroism सारा गया, अब नहीं होने वाला मेरे से. So I just like was crying that day. I remember I was walking down from Jam to CCW. So it was raining, and I was like, भाई जो भी है अभी बात करना है.
So like you almost quit involved.
हाँ मतलब क्विट के वो डिसाइड कर लिया था, उसको कॉल करके बस इन्फॉर्म करके बताना था कि मतलब ये नहीं हो रहा. तो and it was also like more like कि he had told कि अगर कुछ फंसेगा तो मतलब we'll help. अभी मैंने बोला कि अभी आपने बोला था तो या तो you do, otherwise it's a lost thing. Then he said his name is Santosh More. Now we have become like very good friends, like his family and like my family, so like that. He's very senior, like 12 years senior to me. So मैं संतोष भैया बोलता हूँ उनको. So very close that way now. So I told him कि भाई अब तो हुआ गया सब कुछ सर. तो उन्होंने बोला कि अच्छा रो मत, we'll figure out something, but just promise me I'll find a solution for your problem. Just promise me that you'll not quit. So ऐसे अभी ऐसे बोल रहे हो but कुछ नहीं होगा ना. So all of that. I was a 3rd-year student, right? So like what do you expect more? So he said कि just like don't think about it. Tomorrow we'll find a solution. I said okay. Tomorrow कल मतलब पर्सनल अकाउंट में 50,000 रुपए आ गए. Boss, I had only met him twice. Like I had not met him more than that. He did not know me personally. He just knew that I was trying to do something good. He knew that I had passion and I was really passionate about education. Next day, transferred 50,000 in the account. Said, 3-4 महीने चलाओ इससे. We'll figure out a way. His thing was just find a school that like loves your model. You show that proof of concept. Then it will be comparatively easier, because what you're trying to do doesn't exist in India today. And at least there is somebody who will find value. You can convince other people to do that. So So then we did KV. So KV IIT was our first model that way.
Okay.
The senior coordinator of the school went on record to say that this is the best education model that she had ever witnessed. And so we have leveraged that a lot to go to other schools. So that is the way that how we came out of that. So and then of course things have like then moved forward. But in fact, even COVID was not a big hit compared to that. COVID we were able to manage. So yeah, I think that would count as the
toughest period.
Yeah.
When I talk about myself, so I used to do these little kind of business money making things when I was in school. So like I used to write notes for my friends and get $100, $150. So like any kind of stories that you would like to share?
Yeah, so that of course a lot of people would have done.
Like not startups and not entrepreneurships.
Correct. So in fact, good that you pointed out, because there's something that I speak generally when I go to like colleges, right? I think thinking business is a very good skill set to have in like college or like when you're doing, right? Okay. You don't have to really become an entrepreneur. That's the later stage. Whether you decide to do job or you want to get into entrepreneurship, that's entirely a different thing. But just the process of building a business, earning money, teaches you a lot of things about like economics, about life, about finances and so on, that you just cannot learn anywhere else. Okay? So मैं तो मतलब लोगों को बोलता था अपने juniors को, because I don't know if you guys know this or not, but I was on the board of Nirman till I was in ST. Okay. So I was the only student on the board of Nirman. So I initially did a lot of structuring of the programs and everything also. So वहाँ पर whenever like these college students, we had college projects and everything, I used to tell them कि forget about like thinking about starting up and everything. Just think there is any business angle to your project or not, right? In fact, even in college, यार उरी जब आया था ना मूवी, उस समय मैंने और मेरा जो बेस्ट फ्रेंड है वही जो बोल रहा था कि स्टार्टअप के इसी कारण how I came to entrepreneurship. We decided that we will get those slogans of Naya India and all of that. Okay. Print T-shirts and sell to people. How's the Josh? And how is the Josh? So we printed that how is the Josh. मतलब I think in 1 week, एक दिन में design किया, gave it to the vendor, got it. All the first year students we told every T-shirt sold 25 रुपए मिलेगा. Okay, so we had this distribution also. We sold about 100-150 T-shirts. Right, just like 1 month. Then next semester हमको भी ये लगा कि हमको कि we can teach entrepreneurship to kids. So we started an initiative called E101 करके से just put together a list of sessions, brochure बनाया, sold to a couple of schools, made like sort of 50-60K. Yeah. So small things, and the intent was not really to become a print company or a design company that way. The intent was not to sort of start a entrepreneurship training institute, but the whole fact that you can find business opportunity in things teaches you a lot. It teaches you problem solving, it teaches you communication, it teaches you negotiation, it teaches you sales. Very difficult thing, right? One of the most difficult skills to have is sales. So in that way, I think doing these things, being able to convince somebody to pay you, earning your first buck, is very good. It gives you the sense of confidence. I can relate to you, like earning my first buck. My mom might see it and get angry on me, but like she don't know that I got my first son in class 9th. So like, how was your feeling to get your first paycheck or first money? I'll tell about that. Or usse pehle, the thing is that it teaches you a very important thing, that you're not dependent on anybody else to earn money. Yeah. It teaches you risk taking. मतलब मेरे को पता था कि even if I am not sitting in placement, worst comes to worst, I will be able to survive. Right? मैं 25-30 हजार रुपए महीने का, 50 हजार रुपए महीने का तो कमा ही लूंगा. तो यार, people were paying me 900,000 rupees per hour for tuitions. So if I'm doing 50 hours of tuitions a month, I can earn decent like 50,000 rupees for myself. So I don't have to really crave for a job immediately, and that I think is that gives my you a kind of confidence that then you try, then you take risk. Okay. So I think that was very very critical. So for me that ऐसे तो छोटे मोटे पैसे तो मतलब 6th grade में भी मिले थे, 10 रुपए में, मतलब किसी दोस्त का अगर एग्जाम अच्छे से पढ़वा दो तो फिर वो करता था. But serious money came in like I think first year of college, tuitions again. Tuitions में काफी पैसे कमाए मैंने. So and because I liked teaching also, so I would maths and physics, I loved them as a subject. So I would teach and like teaching, so I could get people to visualize also what I was teaching. So in that way it was there. So, but I think first 2.5 months got paid about 18,000 rupees.
Okay.
So बहुत मजा आया.
So you can say that, like, yeah, you might not have thought of being an entrepreneur, but you might have found some or the other ways to earn money.
हाँ, so yeah,
Getting these ways,
2014 or 2015 in Insti was not a very entrepreneurship savvy thing. There was no Nirman during that time. ESL was not there. There was C-Tides, right? Entrepreneurship in India was just booming at that time, right? College entrepreneurship was still there. Like I think Flipkart had come in 2008 and everything, but college entrepreneurship was very, very new. There was this one name, Ritesh Agarwal, who dropped out and became a Thiel fellow and everything. So all of that was there. But college entrepreneurship very new, and especially me coming from like Bihar, you wouldn't think that you can start a business in college. That thought was not there. So I think all thanks to Vaibhav, who is my best friend, he said कि मैं start करूँगा, मैंने बोला तू कर सकता है तो मैं भी कर सकता हूँ. So I think that was, and in fact because I'm there, Vaibhav उसका startup fail हो गया.
Sorry.
So but anyway, yeah. So yeah, of course, like very good thing to be able to do that and then get into business.
One question is, like, if you could go back to your first year of college, what all things you would do again, or you would try new things or something?
So honestly, no regrets as such that I would have done something else. The only thing that I feel is I would have done sports a bit more and sort of leverage Insti ka greenery to take care of myself, like more running or like sort of gym khana, using of gym khana, everything. I think that is part that I miss right now because that's not as easily available to you as Insti was. And I remember also one of the professors has said to me this in final year, when you will go out of Insti, you will realize the value that you have lost.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuck to me from that angle because participation in activities and everything too I did to the fullest. So I absolutely thoroughly enjoyed that. All the experiences. Like IR mein tha to I was part of their editorial team. So wherever I would get a video making opportunity like this, मैं घुस जाता था ताकि मतलब face आ जाए थोड़ा बोलने वाले के मिल जाए लोगों से मिलने मिल जाए. Networking was always sort of this thing. So any events would be happening, I would be like senior मेरे को भी लेके चलो please मेरे को भी लेके चलो. So would meet a lot of people that way. In fact, ESL में जब था तो when we were doing the event, so because Yash, who was my friend who was heading the events part along with me, so we had gotten the ex-CEO of UTV movies, Nandini Vaidyanathan was the name. So we had gotten her to sort of come, and I had to go and pick her at the airport. So I'll tell that story offline sometime. That was a huge learning in itself, because just to give one bite, ऐसा था कि she asked us to send flight options.
Okay.
अभी क्या है कि अपन लोग फ्लाइट कभी चढ़े नहीं उस समय, ठीक है, थर्ड ईयर की बात कर रहा हूँ. तो मैंने देखा कि चीपेस्ट मतलब विनी को चीपेस्ट फ्लाइट कौन सा है, and that will send. So she had to come from Goa to Chennai, and cheapest flight was a connecting flight. ठीक है, and the direct flight was twice the cost. तो मैंने जो भी चीपेस्ट ऑप्शन मैंने उनको ईमेल पे करके भेज दिया, and then she calls me up and she tells me, Divanshu, you really think that I'm going to fly from Goa to Chennai in a connecting flight? मेरे को समझ में नहीं आया कि क्यों ऐसा बोल रही है. हमको लगा यार सस्ता है, 3,000 में सस्ता है क्यों नहीं. So that was the thing. But anyway, I talked to sort of my head and they said कि ठीक है यार मतलब however she's saying कर दो. Then you realize मतलब when you come into work, like higher of course मतलब people would prefer to, if they are going for events or not. Even when some people call me for events, like of course direct flight चाहिए भाई, corrective time waste क्यों करूँगा, right? But then you are not able to comprehend all of these things. So all of this is a new learning from you, what the world is out there. So for me, I think that was a very cherishing experience. The true learning in everything that I did. So thoroughly enjoyed that part. Like, and failed in a lot of things also, right? The teleoperation wala project that I was doing with Professor Shukan could not do that very well, could not allocate time. So that not Adira racing, we couldn't take it off. So that way failed also a lot of things. Not like everything was a success, but just the process of doing that was thoroughly enjoyable. So no regrets apart from that.
Okay, so like any book or any person that inspired you the most in this journey? By the way, do you read books?
I read books. I read, of course, last 1 year, very slow in reading. But before that, I used to read quite a lot of books. I think the content consumption is also, the pattern has changed. You are more preferred towards podcasts, YouTube videos rather than reading videos. It is more like easy to go. But some of the books that I've liked a lot, in fact, one of the books that I would also recommend you reading is Let's Build a Company. So this is a book by IIT Bombay grads who built a company for themselves for 10 years and then sold it off. Right? They didn't sell it off for like sort of 1,000 crore, 10,000 crore, something like that. They sold it for about 80 crores, 75 crores and so.
Okay.
But the reason the book, you will love the book, and I recommend everybody, all of you, to sort of do that, because I remember that I bought 20 copies of that book and gifted to a lot of my sort of friends and sort of people that I wanted them to read. It tells you a very realistic tale of entrepreneurship. It doesn't like showcase all the
so you were able to relate
0.001% of people who make a lot of money, but it tells you that realistically it's possible to make sizable wealth, and they show up themselves as so much human in that, right? So I love the way that the book was written, right? So that from a sort of story point of view, that was there. In fact, Nandini ma'am ka book hai Entrepreneurial. That's a 17 or 18 step to think about how to early stages of building a company. So how to build a team, how to get the product right, and things like that. How to solve the problem, how to find ideas. So usme it's a very sort of, so if you're in the like sort of second year, third year, very good book to read from that perspective. If you've already started up and if you are running an early stage team kind of thing, there's a book by sort of ex-Intel CEO, High Output Management. I think it's a crash course on building a company, like, or management. Beautifully book, like it's like a guide with me that I carry all the time. Ki abhi kuch yahan gadbad ho raha hai to ye book ko khol ke padh lo, right? So that way it is there. And yeah, the personal level, but there are a lot of books, of course. Like there was a book, the finance book that became very famous. I forgot the name, but I have the author connected with me on LinkedIn, but I forgot. Finance. Bhul gaya yaar. Never mind. I'll recollect and tell you. So that was very well, and like a couple of other books also that have come out. So definitely sort of psychology books are there. From a fiction point of view, I love Malcolm Gladwell. He writes good books, and he does a fiction, non-fiction also. Like sort of, he has a tipping point and a lot of that. So those kind of books love.
So guys, young entrepreneurs, make sure to follow what he says. So yeah, any last piece of advice for the young entrepreneurs in the world out there who are listening to you?
I think more than young entrepreneurs, I'll just want to say something to all the like IIT Janta who would be watching this. Hopefully, I hope that you guys have at least reached to that extent.
Hopefully.
So I think that there's a lot about risk taking that we don't like sort of think about. We think that starting up is a big risk for us. We should not do anything, and I really think it's the otherwise. Right? If we as IIT folks do not start up on our own or do not take the road not taken, nobody else will have the guts to do that. Because literally we have every backup plan thought through than other sort of people. I've seen a lot of my like friends, batchmates who have started up, failed, went back to a corporate saying that we had a failed startup and they've gotten a jump on the salary. Why?
Okay.
Because that failed startup experience matters a lot. Right? So that way, trying to do a startup is definitely not a risk. Right? And the reason it becomes important, I'm not saying that everybody should get into entrepreneurship, but the larger message of that is try doing things that you love, do things that where you create a path for yourself. Don't just get into the rat race the moment you get into college. Like I've seen, this bothers me a lot. I've seen more and more people right from the first year start thinking about Shasta Sarang, फिर core बनेंगे, फिर head बनेंगे, फिर consulting जाएंगे, finance जाएंगे. So that don't get into that. Like it's possible that you still end up there consulting. That's okay. But do that once you are convinced that that is the right path for you, right? Exactly. So I think that is a general message for every institute like Janta who is there. So at least like just think about that.
Give yourself some time. Explore yourself.
Explore. Yes. So
wow, sir, that was like very insightful conversation and gained valuable insights into the world of entrepreneurship and business. Your journey from being a college graduate to a successful entrepreneur is truly inspiring, and we hope that your experience...
Not successful yet, but okay, you can consider.
Sir, for us, it is very, very much successful. We hope that your experiences and advice have given our listeners a deeper understanding of the challenges and rewards of starting a business. Thank you, Divanshu Bhaiya.
Yes.
Thank you very much for sharing your time and knowledge with us. And we look forward to more inspiring episodes ahead. Thank you,
very
Bhaiya, for being here. It was a
Yes.
pleasure having your podcast with you.
Good. Thank you so much for having me.